it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. I'll be cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening.
I'll be taking shots, yeah,
tonight we're gonna have a discussion. I think I'm gonna mark this down in the history books. This is going to be a hell of a discussion tonight. I have a good buddy of mine, Ricky Manor, in the room. What's going on, Ricky? Introduce make sure everybody know who you are, brother.
What's going on? The name's Ricky Manor, aka the Melanated Rebel, here on YouTube. Yeah, so it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on, Ross.
Absolutely. I know we had a good discussion on your channel. We're going to change it up. We're going to talk about the Black church and the Black community. Okay. You're a guest. I'll let you go ahead and start off. What you got? What are your thoughts on the Black church and what it has or has not done for the Black community? Whether it be politics, outreach in the community, any sort of financial, emotional, spiritual, psychological support and help. What are your thoughts on that?
All of the above that you just listed, the Black church has failed in, especially when we're looking at the liberal Black pastor that's pretty much bought by liberal politicians. Whenever you look at the Black church, let's look at the Black community, because the church is supposed to be the center of the Black community, right? I mean, that's the way they said it in the 1960s. However, if the church is the center of the Black community, then basically the community is supposed to reflect the doings of the church in that community.
Absolutely.
And right now, you look at the state of that community, and I mean, it's easy to tell. It's obvious that the community in itself is spiritually, morally, and financially bankrupt.
So when I look at the Black church, and a little bit of my history, Ricky, is I went through Baptist, I went through Southern Baptist, I was even a Seventh-day Adventist. I became an ordained minister when I was in a non-denominational church. Mm-hmm. And going through seminary, reading all the different books of the Bible, the lost ones, the found ones, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Quran, the Torah, you name it. I pretty much read a lot of those religious books. And when I come to find out is, and I'm not trying to say that I'm not attacking no one's religion, right? But mm-hmm. we essentially understand that the Black church is mostly Christian, with some remnants, some residue of being Muslim, but majority of Black people in America and the UK and Africa is Christian. And when I went over to Ghana, I just found out how that the Europeans essentially took a religion, not Christianity, took a religion out of Africa, pretty much mixed and mastered it to whatever they wanted to be to essentially control. First, they use it on their own people, because that's essentially what white supremacy do. Cool. They take methods and strategies, they use it on their own people, and then when they realize that it worked, it's the same things they use it during the slave trade. And a lot of us, still to this day, no one can strip or rip us from our white Jesus. And some people are like, well, there's a Black Jesus. I don't want to get into the whole discussion about debunking religion in general, mm-hmm. but my only question is, how has that helped the Black community? Because what occurs is, when you look at majority Democrat, and this my disclaimer, so everybody knows this, I'm not Democrat, I'm not independent, and I'm not Republican. I'm not liberal, I'm not conservative. I don't know what the hell I am. I just want the best for our people. How about that? But when I think about these things, churches is one of the biggest businesses in America. I mean, Ricky, you and I should start a church, because the only thing we need to do is exactly what we're doing here, but we just need a pulpit, we need a congregation, and we need an offering tray, right? And we can just get tax-free money. Because when I did my research, did you know in the past 10 years, that the black churches in America have gained $800 billion. Okay, $800 billion. No, this is a very significant number. Let me show you here very quickly. And
that is the economy of a small country.
That's what I'm talking about. When you look at this right here, black churches have collected $800 billion in 10 years. And the question is, where has the money gone? Tell me, Ricky, where has the money gone, Ricky?
Well, the pastors live a fancy lifestyle. They say it's for the building fund. I think that a lot of that money goes into a collector plate, because when you start talking about religions, you start using mathematical equations. See, people don't understand, the difference between basic English and mathematical language. What denomination are you? What are you paying into? What club are you paying into, in a certain sense? So, yeah, this is funding a lot of trips, and you best believe that these churches are paying up to somebody, and that money is getting paid up to somebody to allow them to operate. So it wouldn't surprise me that if all this money that they're collecting, a share of it is being, sent back to the Vatican. Or you got to think too, all that money isn't coming from those collection plates on Sunday as well. A good majority of it is, but a lot of times these preachers are getting paid in the black community to push these liberal candidates. We know that money is not going into the community, because if that money
absolutely not.
Yeah, because if that money was going into the community, then we could be able to do for self. We would be able to have our own grocery stores. We'd be able to have our own libraries, our own schools, our own hospitals. $800 billion, and you mean to tell me that this money is, just where is it going? It's stagnant, right? But that preacher lives pretty good in his new Cadillac, in his new Lexus, and, the people of the church wanting to be like that preacher. And the preacher say the only thing you got to do is just have more faith. If you pray harder, you read more scripture, whatever, then God's gonna bless you. And they call these things, just these financial things, blessings. You get blessed with a job, you get blessed with a car, you get blessed with a house, you get blessed with a wife, you get blessed with jewelry, you get blessed with clothes. Everything's a blessing. And it's like, wait a minute, what about the blessing that you have? And I tell anybody this, even though I'm not a Christian per se, but a blessing is to have the ability to get those things that God has given you already. He gave you, some matter between your ears. He gave you 2 hands. He gave you 2 feet. He gave you the ability to think, the ability to learn, to adapt and improvise and overcome. So basically, that's your blessing right there. What you do with that blessing is on you.
We have to understand in history, too, that black people were conservative. Essentially, they were Republicans prior to LBJ. Mm-hmm. They were led to the Democratic Party by no other than Martin Luther King. Now, Martin Luther King, much homage and honor goes to him. He essentially led to being a black nationalist, but that's another topic. But when we would look at the mega pastors, the mega bishops, the mega reverends today, and I look at the amount of money that they have accumulated over the years. Take, for instance, someone like Creflo Dollar, net worth of $27 million. And the community he's in College Park, Georgia, if he's still located there, they have an average income of $30,000, right? And we're going to continue to move on here. And we're not attacking no preachers or pastors, but we're just saying how a lot of these ministers have millions of dollars in the communities that they live in. They're not even making over $50,000. Now, this guy, excuse me if I'm a bishop, his name, I'm just going to call him Bishop David, over in Nigeria is worth $150 million, where 55% of Nigerian citizens live below the poverty line on under $2 a day. Let me move on. We remember this guy, the pedophile, the sexual assaulter, Eddie Long. This guy had a salary of $1 million a year. I wish I could essentially have that. And in Georgia, a small town in Georgia, the average income of those citizens in Georgia is $25,000. This is absolutely grotesque. Now, this guy right here is Pastor Christian, net worth of $50 million. And again, he's in Nigeria. and 55% of their citizens live below the poverty line. Okay, living under $2 a day. And then the notorious, the infamous, the famous Bishop T.D. Jakes is a net worth of $18 million. Okay, he reportedly lives in a 1.7 million mansion in the suburbs of Dallas, where the people, the citizens that essentially go to his church and his community, around $57,000 if you are rounding up. And here's a defense that a lot of Christians will have when it comes to pastors and reverends and all of these holy men, is that a lot of money that accumulated was from business. Like, take for instance, a lot of these people, like TD Jakes has a broadcasting network company and a Black entertainment television, and he has evangelical sermons that he do on TV, and he get paid for those things. He has book deals and CDs and DVDs, etc. The question is, when I hear people defend them, they never talk about how they got the money.
There's a preacher in my hometown, in the upstate, where I'm from originally, and I forget that man's name, but he has a program on OWN. What is that man's name? Real fat bastard. Daggone it. He's a fat bastard. He bought his wife a Lamborghini, made the news. What is his name? Let's see. I could Google the church in.
Yeah, while you say that, I'm just gonna give the family some commentary here, because again, I was in the church all the way into my 30s, you know, praying to a Jesus or to a deity or an entity that was given to my people through force. And then we have other groups out there, and I'm not saying, you know, these particular people are worshiping false god. I'm not even getting into the worship part of a deity. I'm not getting to that. But we have all these different groups out there, whether it be Christian and all the denominations, Catholics and all the denominations, Muslims and all their different sects, whether it be the Hebrew Israelites. The point of the matter is, when you look at religious leaders around the world, they're some of the richest people in the world. And I understand that church is not only a place of worship, it's a place of business, because a lot of these huge churches that are syndicated, okay, a lot of these churches are like business. Everywhere you go, there's a church of, what's that syndicated church that everybody knows of? The Church of God. I don't know. I forgot even the name of the church, because I try to remove myself away from these bodies of work that essentially live off the people from their communities, where people in their communities are getting put out their homes, their cars are breaking down, and they're coming to the church for assistance, but they're still asking money for, we need to pay the light bill. I remember Joel Osteen. I know he's not part of the Black community, essentially, but Black people go to his church. During the flood, he didn't even want people come inside the church. Then this same dude, he applied for the PPP loan. They're like, oh no, I don't need it. He tried to give it back once it became public. But these are some of the same things that these Black churches do in the community when you tie an offering. And granted, they're living a tax-free life, because essentially, don't get me wrong, they should be living off the tithes and offering that the people are essentially given to the church, because this is their sole job. But when you're talking about, you have a $2 million home, private jets, Rolls Royce, Benz, and you're looking at the people in your congregation, and they're Holy Ghost filled, they're on fire for God, but they can barely put gas in their tank. Something is absolutely wrong here.
Let me I looked up that preacher's name. His name was John Gray. When I go back home to Greenville, that's my hometown, people talk about him like he's a celebrity. This guy was, what's up, Cooter Rebel? This guy bought his wife a Lamborghini. It made the news. And in the town where I come from, the average work is either in a call center or a manufacturing plant. You're doing one or the other if you have a high school diploma. You know what I'm saying? So these people, plant work is above average living. You know what I'm saying? You can finance a house. You know, some call centers you can too as well. finance a house or an apartment, pay a car note, things of that nature. But this man went and bought his wife a Lamborghini, saying that God blessed him with the way to do it, because it wasn't just the donations that bought her the Lamborghini. It was the freaking people. It was the book deal he had, the show he had on Oprah Winfrey Network, all of that stuff. Pastor John Gray actually sat with Donald Trump and prayed with him. That's how, and people turned against him for that. Some people did, but John Gray recently, well, I think it was about 2 years ago, he got caught cheating on his wife. And basically, instead of, her calling him out for doing it, he says that he was a weak man, this, that, and the third. He had all kind of excuses, and people were like, you don't know their relationship. You don't know their relationship. And they sat there and bashed the woman that he cheated with, talking about, yes, I put scripture on that demon, calling this other woman a demon. And I'm thinking to myself, like, these people are so gullible. They're so far gone that there is no helping them. And if there was anything that we can hold white people accountable for to this very day from the detriments of slavery, then I think it's that religion, that plantation style religion that was pushed on them during slavery that they never freed themselves from.
When you think about how gullible some of us can be, it reminds me of Jim Jones, where he took those people over there and had them to drink cyanide. And while they're drinking cyanide, he trying to load the plane. He trying to get out of there.
Right. And the funny part about that, you know who Jim Jones' followers were? They don't tell you this, though.
Uh-oh.
Black people. Mainly women. Mainly black women. Now, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, drinking the Kool-Aid is funny, but well, it was really Weiler's fruit punch. I had to do a deep study on this when I was in college. I had to do a report on this, and it blew my mind, because I'm learning all kind of things. Like when people say don't drink the Kool-Aid, they're referring to Jim Jones, and his followers were black, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now. They drank this Kool-Aid, dying in front of each other, saying it's okay, we're going to a better place. If you ask me, I think a lot of that stuff that they learn in these churches, it prepares them for death.
He made them forego their family, their friends, their careers,
their personal belongings.
I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer that we would just blindly follow, because they said, oh, every flock of sheep. I know a lot of pastors use this. Every flock of sheep needs a shepherd. And the one thing that they never mention is that shepherds can also lead you to slaughter. All those sheep that follow the shepherd, they go into the butcher house and get chopped up sometimes.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. When I look at this particular pastor right here, he just blatantly slapped the black church in the face, because he says here, Charles Blake earns $900,000 salary and owns a 10,000 square foot mansion in Beverly Hills. It says the median annual income in his community is $30,000. I mean, when you really just point things out. Now, me personally, there is a mathematical equation, a certain percentage that I think they should be taken off. But when you look at the community that you're serving, the same people with little to give, you have essentially, and I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use the lowest form of this word. When you brainwash these people, the only thing they can think about is giving their money to the church. And what do you do with that money? You go and buy a mansion. You go and buy Bentleys and Rolls Royce and Bugattis, right? And then you turn around and say, you should give more. God loves a giver. Because
a cheerful giver.
A cheerful giver. And when you think about, and I'm not attacking anyone's religion. This is a disclaimer, because again, people don't like conversations like this because it's very abstract, and they probably never thought about it like this. So we back up. If we just take a moment here, Ricky, and we talk about people's belief system, I'll tell people this each and every day. I would debate you on the relevance, the origin, the information within the Holy Bible. If you don't have the Holy Bible, you can't speak any text within the Holy Bible. Now debate me about God, because here's the thing: we understand that the Holy Bible, quote unquote, was written by inspired men by God. The way I think about it sometimes, were men inspired to write about God? And this essentially happened in 325 AD on the Council of Nicaea, that a lot of these religious sects got together in order to create this Bible, in order, in a time of medieval Europe, in order to control the people, to have them give reverence to a higher deity so they can stop all the warring. And then what they did, they took that same religion. See, this is the thing. We only think about what we are given in that Bible, but we don't know the history. We don't know the origin. People, when you talk about the Knights of Templar, what do you think the Knights of Templar did? They went around Europe killing all pagans and heathen who did not convert. They was making people convert. They made the Danes, the Swedes, the Norwegians, the Icelandic, all those people during that Viking era to give up, the whole conception of Valhalla and all the different gods. And to this day, they did the same thing when they brought missionaries to Africa, slave traders to Africa, then took Africans out of Africa to Europe to train them to be evangelists, to send them back to Africa to indoctrinate the people, because the people were not taking the white people's religion until they had black people to teach it to them. This is the torment, psychological and spiritual torment, that our people have been going through for so long. I remember that for a long time, you couldn't talk to a woman, you couldn't do business with certain people if you were not Christian. And we look at the financial instability that the black community is in right now. A lot of that is the division within the religious sects. We have so many separations. We have white supremacy against us. We have race soldiers against us. We have politics against us. We have religion against us. They have divided us on all fronts.
You're right on that. And the crazy part is that you have people that believe. Now, there's two different types of Christianity, if you ask me, okay? You have the Christianity that does people well. They find their inner selves through the biblical text. I can't take anything from that. You know what I'm saying? So the people that believe that, God bless them. But then you have what I call the plantation religion.
Right.
Now, when Malcolm X was speaking, when he was talking about the house Negro and the field Negro, they said that the house Negro was taken care of better. But what he don't talk about is that who was this house Negro? The house Negro was the preacher. Why? Because he was the one that was well-dressed, well-kept, was trusted by the master to teach the slaves the religion, was trusted by the master to read. Slaves couldn't read. So these people, the preacher was the only one who could read the Bible and tell the slaves, to obey your master.
Certain verses.
Yeah, certain verses, and sit back and read this to them. And the slaves had no intellectual scholarship at the time. And now when the plantation was freed, these white Christians, these white conservatives are like, why are these black Christians going for these Democrats? And why, what's going on here? How can we vote? How can we worship the same God but vote differently in a voting booth? Well, here we are in unity at the pulpit, but at the voting booth, we're, separated. The reason why is because the Democrats or the liberals, they know the enslavement of the modern day black man, black woman. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And they play on this. So they go to their churches, even though their views are diametrically opposed to what's in that Bible. They go to it anyhow. You see what I'm saying? So now,
absolutely,
what you're dealing with is a phantom of slavery, an evil phantom, because now you got these people so brainwashed that they don't even want to think for themselves. If this preacher don't tell it to me and this white liberal politician don't tell it to me, then it's not true. Now think about it like this. Everything that you see black people do nowadays, and let's be honest, in the system of capitalism, if the white man has it, it's good, right? The white man drives a Mercedes-Benz. Well, we don't know anything about the mechanics of a Mercedes-Benz, but we see rich white people driving them, so it adds value.
So we need to
right?
drive one.
Yeah. The white man drives a Hummer. Well, we don't know the mechanics of the Hummer, but we see a rich white man driving one and giving value to it, so we give it value. Now, why does that change when it comes down to the successful white man that you see voting conservative? Well, that's because he's a racist. No, wait now. He's successful in his life. He votes a certain way. He does it for a reason. What's the reason he's doing it? What's the value he's finding in that Mercedes? What's the value he's finding in that Hummer? What's the value he's finding in that watch that he's wearing? Ask him what's the value that he found in his candidate. That'll tell you a different story.
I can't say that every Republican that is white is a racist. I can't say that.
No,
I don't think anyone can say that. But the rhetoric, how the Democratic Party uses religion as a tool. Now, I thought about this, and I try to really do some research on this, Ricky. I wonder if Democrats give churches money, or they convince the churches that they're going to do something for them, and the churches end up giving them money to support their candidacy.
Well, that's what happens when these preachers, when they come to town to politic, they give the preacher a certain amount, like a down payment. Then they come back in and cash back on that investment. And these people take up a collection plate to help them with their campaign because they go in and make these promises. Now, if you think about it, you were in the church before, you know this. Black Christians never expect results. You ever notice that?
Oh, no, not at all.
They'll sit back all day long and dream with you. One day we're going to have a nice house. One day we're going to drive a nice car. One day my kids are going to go to college. But they don't. And what's their way of saying one day instead of getting out?
While they are driving a nice car and living in a nice house.
Right. But what are their plans on getting these things done? I'm going to tell you, and this is one of the things that really made me want to cuss out that preacher when I worked at the Kia dealership. The preacher says, go out today, put your hands on the car that you want and pray over that car. And in a year's time, you will have that car.
He was using the power of manifestation.
Yes. But the power of manifestation, what else is supposed to come with that is, like, I preach the power of manifestation sometimes on my broadcast.
Okay.
Now, after you manifest it, you begin working on a plan.
Correct.
How much do I need to put down on this car if I cannot afford it altogether? What does my credit score need to look like? If you're looking for a certain job, how physically fit do I have to be? What do I have to know to have this job? What are the things that are the tools that I need to obtain to be successful at reaching this goal? And then you work towards those things. And the funny thing is, after you manifest it and you make one move towards it,
right,
the second move will come in its place. And next thing you know, any opportunity you get in life is going to be two things. And they got to match up at one time. Opportunity, luck, and the third thing is skill. So it's three things: opportunity, luck, and skill. And after you manifest your reality, or what I call manifesting your destiny, then you'd be amazed how the universe will move for your favor. Now, let's talk about this real quick, because this brings me to another subject, because she came up to that dealership, and as a car salesman, it's a waste of time to go and take somebody out on a test drive, go through all of their emotions with them, and for them to say, I'll be back in a year. I told her, what other plans do you have? Well, I'm just going to pray on it. I checked this heifer's credit score. I've never seen a credit score so low in my life. A year later, I looked at Dealer Socket, which is a tool that I use for all of the people that I talk to in the car business. She still hasn't bought a car. And I seen where she got rejected several times trying to buy this car or trying to buy a car. She even got rejected from a buy here, pay here lot. And I'm thinking to myself, like, really? This is the kind of foolishness that a lot of these Black Christians have. And this is where our community is not going anywhere. We're
Absolutely
in quicksand.
nowhere.
We are in quicksand when it comes to the teachings, those plantation style teachings. We are in quicksand, and people do not want to let it go, even though it's getting them nowhere. They do not want to let it go, even when common sense tells them, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong? I mean, think about it. These white folks, they spend 45 minutes to an hour in church. They're done. They're off to the restaurant. You know what I'm saying? Black Christians,
We're in 3 or 4 hours.
3
Being
or 4
indoctrinated.
hours.
But you know what? Even more so, the pressure that the Black church put on the Black community. I don't know if you ever been in a church where you became a member and every month they had these tithe and offering envelopes.
Yes.
And they will count it. Again, I was part of ministry in a lot of churches. They were counted after service and then give people phone calls or either letters in the mail saying, hey, you didn't give your tithes and offerings this month or this week, or you're behind your 10% because because they'll ask you all personal types of questions, how much you make a year, right? How much you have after your bills. I'm like, these are very, very personal questions because now you feel conflicted, you feel obligated to give. And a lot of us used to say, oh, I need to pay my tithes and offerings, but the trickery that they give you is say, oh, no, you're not paying tithes and offerings. You're giving with a free heart. Well, no, I'm not giving with a free heart. I feel convicted to give. I feel like if I don't give, I'm going to hell. And a lot of people actually believe this thing, but it goes deeper than that, though, Ricky. When we really look at this thing, and I know this is a very unpopular topic, and I'm not trying to attack anyone's belief system because with one caveat, there is good that a lot of religious bodies do. There's some churches that have outreach programs that have workshops to teach people computer skills, financial skills. There are some that even teach people about their health, but those are very far, few, and in between. It's really hard to find a church that's going to try to build you up as a really good person, like with your health. Are you eating the right foods? With your finances, are you investing? Are you doing things to lead your family generational wealth? No, they just want you to come, holler, pray, scream, put yourself on side of the altar and make sure you give those damn tithes and offerings.
And a lot of times too, people they use that religion to gaslight. Like there was a chick that I was, dating in the church, right? And what broke us up was one of her friends came to her and says, God told me that man's a buster and you need to leave him alone. I'm like, why is God telling her something bad about me? Why isn't God telling you something bad about me? Well, that's what she told me God said.
That's the thing, though. What I've learned in the church is that people will come to you and tell you, God told me to tell you. And I'm like, well, why God didn't tell me himself? Because believe me, it's more believable if it comes from God. It's kind of like in Catholicism, within the Catholic Church, you're supposed to go to Jesus with your sins and ask for forgiveness, but they want you to go through a clergyman. They want you to go through one of the priests in the Catholic Church. So now he knows all your business, but of course, you're sworn to secrecy. You don't supposed to tell anybody, but we know how that goes, right? Whoever had the biggest dollars.
Right. And the thing is, when people get to telling me what God told them, I'm looking at them like, okay, so if your religion, if you have a spiritual relationship with your God, right?
Right.
Then everybody's supposed to have a spiritual relationship with their God. That would be like me telling your wife or your girlfriend something about you.
Correct.
Or you telling my wife something about me, and she's supposed to take it serious because you told her. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
That right there is sidestepping. And there's so much other hypocritical stances within the church, you know, and they go so far with this shit that they're fucking drunk off of it. I remember one of my worst experiences that ever happened to me. I was 16 years old. I wanted a starter jacket. My parents were reluctant about getting me a starter jacket. Too many kids were getting shot, some of them getting killed over their starter jackets.
Right.
The week before I got robbed, my parents gave me $20 to put into the offering plate, right? I didn't put it in the offering plate. I wanted to go to the ball game that Friday night. So I kept that money. That Saturday, I got robbed. And what was everybody saying? Well, see, if you had to put that money in the offering plate, then God would have set it up for you to get robbed. I'm like, this motherfucker had a gun under my chin, clicked it back. I thought I was going to die right there. And you want to talk about some fucking
ways,
money?
Ricky. God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. I'm like, really? I mean, I was traumatized up until the time I was 25 years old over that shit. And I'm looking back at it like, I wouldn't have never said anything like that to another human being. That's like saying, well, you know, if you didn't wear that damn tight dress out there, you wouldn't have got raped. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you don't
Absolutely
blaming the victim and then using God to do it. Like, it's just so much shit Ricky, that I've seen.
I have one better for you. My ex-wife, we had a lot of money issues, right? We were essentially living paycheck to paycheck. We were both in the military. We got heavily involved in the church. I became a minister. First, I became a minister in the sound ministry, and then I started taking some classes, learning how to write sermons, etc. And then I became a minister, an honorary minister before I got ordained. And then from that moment, you know, of course, now I'm a leader in my household because now, you know, every man should be a priest of their home, so to speak. And we came to this financial crunch where I had to make a decision of giving my tithes and offering or paying my damn bills. So as a man, I was reluctant to give that money to pay my damn bills. And this is when I realized, and this doesn't happen in all cases, this doesn't happen in all churches, this doesn't happen in all religions and faiths, but it happens where my wife told the pastor that my husband did not give his tithes and offerings. And I'm like, what? The pastor calls me into his office. Minister Ross, your wife was telling me that you didn't give your tithes and offerings this month. I'm like, Pastor, I had bills. Oh, brother, you need to have faith. Oh, I got faith. If I don't pay these white people their money, they're going to turn off these damn lights. Oh, I got faith. If I don't have money to go buy groceries, my family going hungry. Oh, I got faith. If I don't pay these car notes, they're going to repo these cars. That's the faith I have in. See, and there were some times where I had to take a step back where the church actually gave me some money, gave us some money in order to pay some of our bills because we were living paycheck to paycheck. But then again, we had to pay that money right back. It was almost like the church gave me a 0 interest loan. Mm-hmm. And see, if we go a little bit deeper here and we start to debunk the rationale of the Bible, because anytime people speak religiously, especially in the Christian faith, right? That's what we're mainly talking about here. That they'll tell you that God is omnipotent, all powerful, and all knowing, right? You always get those three, right? The Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Okay. And when you start really breaking down, and I've said this many, many times before, when you really start breaking down the beginning of the Bible, anyone in their right mind should say, stop. None of this makes any sense. Who wrote this? It couldn't be an all-powerful, all-knowing God, right? Take, for instance, if you go, you know, God created, you know, the heavens or earth, anything that was void, and on the seventh day he rested. Okay, cool. Then he created Adam and Eve. After he created Adam and Eve, he cast Lucifer down, right? I'm a little all over the place, but stay with me here. He cast Lucifer down to the earth, right? And Lucifer had power to enter his spirit, his entity entered the serpent, where the serpent told Eve to eat of the tree of knowledge and good. Question: why did God place a tree in the Garden of Eden where you couldn't eat from? To me, that's a setup.
What about, I got a better one.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The trials of Job. You took this man's family from him. You took his everything from him just to see if he would stay faithful. And I'm like,
toying with Job because the devil said, I guarantee if you took away Job's blessing, he will curse you and die.
And so you pretty much made a bet with him, which gambling is a sin.
Toying with you.
Yes. And this man's emotions, everything, the turmoil he went through, but they say God blessed him with a new family, a new home, new
That's
wealth, this, that, and the
crazy.
third. But I'm like,
no one talks about the psychological distress and in emotional disability that he went through. Once he went through that, talking about he was even more blessed. But wait a minute, he lost his family, he lost his friends, he lost his home, he lost his land. I mean, he started all over again.
mm-hmm.
And the question is this: why? To prove a point.
And the thing is, when you start looking at the whole the way that the black church has destroyed our community, or what I call the plantation religion, is what it is, because it's not the religion of white people. The white Christian thanks God for the things that he has. The black Christian asks God for the things that he sees his white counterparts have.
Uh-oh, don't do that, Ricky. Don't do that. Don't do that on my channel. Don't do that on my channel. You're about to have people come out the woodwork.
Think about it. That's what they do. They'll sit back. Okay, the white Christian can say, thank you, God, for the power I have in this world. Thank you for this country. Thank you for my military. Thank you for my wealth. The black Christian is like, God, give me the opportunity to join this man's military so that one day I can serve this other man and, get me a job paying above Burger King wage salary so that I can look out for myself. The white man's not in church doing all of that. He's only in church for 45 minutes to an hour. The black
Absolutely.
Christian, however, is in there for 3 to 4 hours. And I made a joke one time, and this white guy just thought it was funny as hell. Like, why are black people in church all this time? Why are black people in church all this time? Because obviously, black people need God more than these white folks do. I mean, think about it. Look at our communities. Like you said, we got politics working against us. We got freaking the race soldiers that are out there working against us. We have religion in itself working against us. I mean, if anybody needs God, I mean, we need to be 100% honest here. Now, the thing that when I was growing up, and I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and there was things that would take place, and they're like, well, you're not supposed to question God's will. The preacher would say that, but the preacher, so he knows as much about God as I do.
Right.
Pretty much. If I'm not supposed to question God's will, and you can't answer what God's will is, then you know much about God as I. Why the fuck am I showing up to your church paying you to bring me closer to God if you're supposed to be able to decipher this stuff for me? On top of that, nobody's actually learning the original scriptures, meaning they're not learning the translations of where they come from. Because if you take Greek, if you study and translate it from Greek and Hebrew from which it was written, it gives you a whole different story. So,
absolutely.
You should have, you could go to church from the time you're 5 to the time you're 100, right? And there should be a level that you elevate up. You shouldn't be at, that would kind of be like me going to fucking high school with my 18-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? And we're staying on 12th grade level forever and ever. Or we're still studying from something from the 3rd grade forever and ever. Like, make it make sense. Why aren't we elevating in this? Why every Sunday the Bible has only so many books. You mean to tell me out of all the years of living, we can become astronauts, we can become doctors, we can become lawyers, but we can't master a book?
I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back a little bit. I remember when I was in the dating world, especially in my 20s and early 30s. And I told my wife this, I've been on hundreds of dates, Ricky. And I would say 90%. I'm talking about 90% because I'm dating, black women. I'm going on dates with black women. And one of the first 3 questions they would ask me is, do you believe in God? And then I'll say something like, what God you're referring to? They're like, huh? What are you talking about? The only one true God. I'm like, well, Hindu, they have a God. Buddhists, they have a God. Muslims, they have a God. Are you Muslim? No. So do you believe in God? And I realized right then and there, a lot of times people do not judge you on your character. They don't judge you on your personality. They don't judge you on what you say. Oh yeah, I believe in Jesus Christ, the Holy Trinity. I read my Bible every night. Oh, he the man for me, girl. He a church going man. I could be a serial killer. And long as I say that I'm Christian, as long as I say that I read my word and I believe in Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, he died on the cross for my sins, and after 3 days he rose again, then all of a sudden I'm in like Flint. I'm good to go.
Are you ready to get deep here?
Yes, sir.
We're about to get deep. If you tell a black woman in 2022 that you're a Christian, that means she can control you.
Explain that one.
Let's look at the slave plantation once again. Besides the master, who was in control?
The
black woman.
Right.
She was loyal to the master. Why was she loyal to the master? You had the preacher, who was the head honcho, and you had the black woman. Right? What's up, Lawrence? So now, the black woman didn't see the black man on the plantation as the father of her children. His job was to breed at best and to train at worst. So who held the power? The white man, the master. The black preacher held the power too, but she never saw the man as as a man. She still don't see him as one to this very day because they're still programmed from the plantation. That Christianity, that plantation Christianity, it took them from the plantation to where they are now. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Because if anyone have read the Willie Lynch letter, he showed them how to buck break slaves. And one of the things that they did was put the black woman ahead of the black man. And guess who's doing it today?
Exactly.
Guess who's putting black women above black men?
The black preacher.
The black preacher, the black church, the black community, and also, I hate to be political, Democrats.
Yep.
Democrats. I guess because black men are diabolically evil. We're evil, right? We beat our women, we kill our children. But when you do a compare and contrast, you do correlating factors, and you relate certain things. Because I said this to someone on Clubhouse. I said, well, when you look at the percentages of interracial relationships into non-interracial relationship between a black man and a black woman and a black woman and a white man, white men are killing black women on a higher percent than black men ever did. And,
right.
Or these unseen accidents are occurring to black women. And then granted, our women, right? They can date whoever they want, and they don't need our permission. They don't need our say so. They have freedom. But understand one thing. There's good black men out there. There's ones who are stand-up guys who will take care of you. All the things that women desire: security, protection, make you comfortable, treat you like a lady, being chivalrous, being a gentleman, etc. But what happens when we involve religion into that equation? Now we have to be so much more than we probably didn't want to be in the first place. And that once again divide us. But then, and I hate to use the word divest because that's kind of like saying that you're a traitor or you're a turncoat. And I necessarily don't believe that, because you can date whoever you want, right? That is your choice. But my thing about it is, once you date outside your race, once you date a white guy or whatever, don't talk down to us now.
Right.
You're happy. Because me, my wife is black, but if I was married to a white woman, I wouldn't talk down on black women. I would still look at them as beautiful black queens, intelligent, powerful, all the great things that I could possibly say about them. But when they get in that position, like they didn't marry, a godlike figure, now they want to talk down to black men like all of us are evil. One more thing. Someone said
the white man is God.
Right. Someone said that for every 1,000 black men, there's only 10 good ones.
Let me break it down for you. A lot of black men are separating themselves from the church nowadays. That church, that religion was everything that they had to control our mindset. You see what I'm saying? Now, I'm going to give you a personal experience, and this is just me. From dating black women, dating white women. I'm married to a white woman now, right? One thing I found out, and I'm not saying that all black women are like this. I'm just talking about my experience. That white woman's going to let you be a man. She's going to let you be the one to put your foot down. Now, she knows she has the power to fuck your life up. You see what I'm saying? But she's going to let you be a man. The second you fall short of that, she's going to hold you accountable. Now, I've noticed, and I've seen this especially in the 80s with the television shows and whatnot, which made me say I'll never want to get married. The Cosby Show. Claire Huxtable ran the shit out of Heathcliff. I mean, ran the shit out of him. And I'm like, this man is not even a man. The man couldn't even eat a hoagie, couldn't even sit down on Thanksgiving Day and watch a ball game. You got all these kids in the household, and she's sending this man out in the cold pouring rain to go get certain things from the grocery store and had no fucking guilt about doing it. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is what marriage is going to be like, fuck it. I don't want no part of it. But then I noticed that a lot of the black women, and it's not their fault, they was conditioned to be this way, is to be the head of the household. And because the men, they talked about their men in a very incompetent way. The thing that I also noticed was, like, when I went out on a date one time, I was on this site called Plenty of Fish, right? Went to the steakhouse, and the black woman asked me the same question. Do you believe in God? Where do you go to church? Now, keep in mind, before I showed up on that date, this woman was asking for damn dick pics, right? All this other stuff talking about, are you a big boy? Oh, you a big boy. And I done went and rented a hotel room, like in the same plaza where the restaurant was. The question came up, do you believe in God? I don't go to church. What? You don't go to church? I don't know, man. She was like, well, you told me you had kids. I kind of changed the subject from, having kids to church, whatever. She says, let me see a picture of your kids. I pulled out my phone. I showed it to her. She goes, they're mixed. Their mama white? Yep. Oh, you one of them brothers. What you mean? Yeah, you done went and got you a white woman, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, the mother of my kids is a white woman, whatever. She says, so that's when I got aggravated. I knew we were getting nowhere. Now, what I do, and this is just me being a troll. I'm a troll in real life, just not online. I said, let me ask you a question. She says, what's that? And I pulled up a picture of Caesar Borges, right? And I showed it to her. I said, who's this guy? She goes, that's Jesus. I'm like, so Jesus is your Lord and Savior? Oh, yeah. I'm like, okay. So then I just looked at her with that smile because I knew I was getting ready to get her. I'm like, I said, so why are you worried about what a white woman gets on her knees to do to please me, and I'm not worried about what you do on your knees to please a white man? She poured a fucking drink on me, called me a son of a bitch, and walked out the restaurant.
Wow.
I was glad she did that. You know why? Because this bitch ordered one of the most expensive things on the menu. And being that we didn't even get our appetizers yet, I didn't have to pay for anything but the drinks.
I'm still trying to figure out, because we continue, and again, I'm not trying to strip anyone away from their religion, let alone their faith. But I guess the one thing I'm trying to understand is, other than faith, other than something you possibly don't know without faith, what has the Black church done for the Black community? When I think about all the money, $800 billion in 10 years, instead of gentrification of these white groups coming in, leveling Black neighborhoods, the ghetto, the hood, etc., pushing them out further into the rural areas, into the sticks, instead of having them in the city where they're coming in and building townhomes and condominiums and making, hundreds and thousands of millions of dollars. Did you know the Black church has enough money to buy those neighborhoods, rebuild them, and still charge the same amount of rent and or mortgage? But they haven't done that. But when I look at their lifestyles, and I must state, when you look at a TD Jakes and a Creflo Dollar, if they're taking only 10% away from the earnings of their church, and they got those riches, but you're looking at your congregation, you could still live a really lavish life, but just on a different level, because I would want my congregation to be wealthy as well, in some sense of a word, and not eating ramen noodles and canned food and roach infested apartments and low income housing and living below the poverty level. And I'm living in this $2 million and $5 million mansion, and my home is 10,000 plus square feet, and I got a pool, and I got a private jet, and I got a whole freaking car lot of different cars. I'm wearing tailor-made suits, $2,000 and $5,000 and $10,000 per suit, and I'm coming in looking at these people cry, plead, pray, beg for assistance, support, and help. I couldn't live with myself. And that's one of the reasons why I had to walk away from it. I just had to say, you know what? I'm done with this. I am done with this. And again, that's a part of my story, a very small piece of my story. And I don't fault anybody because they believe. But my thing is, it divides us on a such higher level that some people won't even talk to you. They won't even have lunch with you unless they're trying to convert you, right? Or convict you, essentially. But we can't even move together because of a religion that should be personal to you, right? Because when I think about faith and I think about religion, it's your personal relationship with God that you serve, right? Because whether you be a Muslim, a Christian, a Hindu, a Buddhist, whatever, we should still be able to walk together. We should be able to do business together. We should even be friends together. But all the while, because they've been so heavily indoctrinated, everything we do is led by the church and religion that you follow.
Let me tell you, you asked the question, what has the church done for the Black community? I will lead by saying this. They done what they were supposed to do.
Lead us astray.
Lead us astray and make us like it. And make us defend an erroneous stance to the point that we will be our own demise. They done what they were supposed to do. Now, you said that you can't get up and do the things that you saw the church was requiring of you to do to lead our people astray. But you have turncoats every day. Look at Messi Jackson. Look at Al Sharpton. These are people that they get paid whenever a Black person dies violently. They get up and they sing songs and they talk about we shall overcome. But at the end of the day, they're getting paid handsomely to do it. See, one thing that I can say about white supremacy, I don't like to use that word too much, but one thing I can say
call
about
it white oppression, white tyranny.
Yes. but it pays you handsomely. It pays you handsomely to lead your people astray. Look at
Indeed,
these
it
rap
does.
artists. How much are they getting paid to get up on
Oh
stage,
my God, here we
call their
go.
women bitches and hoes, and talk about selling dope, but they won't even let their kids listen to the music that they produce.
Like Cardi B.
Yes, and look at the kind of money she's making to do this. When Cardi B and what's that YouTuber's name, Tasha K, what that was about? That was about, now Tasha K said one thing true in all of this. One thing she said that was true. This was me against the system. What system is that? The system that Cardi B works with. They take care of their own. They take care of their own. There was no way Tasha K, even if we could resurrect F. Lee Bailey and Johnny Cochran, there was no way she would have won against Cardi B, because the people Cardi B works for has all the lawyers, has all the money, has all the clout, probably could buy the judge. So there's no way she was going to win against Cardi B. But white supremacy pays you handsomely. Look at Candace Owens. She gets paid handsomely to lead black people astray. What I mean by that, people say, well, Candace Owens is just trying to tell black people the truth. You can't tell people the truth by ridiculing them and browbeating them.
Absolutely.
Anything you do. For instance, I told you about me. I got an ancestral shrine up in my house, right?
Uh-huh.
I was getting ready to take that deal. I was getting ready to make a deal with the devil. 6 figures. Only thing I had to do was 3 YouTubes a week. And they were going to give me the bots. They were going to supply me with everything. Ask me how much sleep I got the night before.
Zero.
I mean, I'm talking about things were happening around that house that I was just like, whoa, okay, I get it now. Not for me. You see what I'm saying? I mean, so when you start looking at these people, these are people who are godless. They're not God worshiping, they are godless. You have to be godless to get up in front of a congregation and watch these people crying and suffering, can't pay their doctor's bills, can't get medicine, can't get food, can't put gas in their cars, can't pay their bills, stressed the fuck out to high hell. You would have to be godless to take advantage of someone like that.
When we talk about, and I'm a walk, and I tell my wife this all the time, I believe that human beings will all walk in contradiction, right? You're going to learn new information. You're going to find out new things, and something you said or did yesterday, you're going to revert or change the very next day when you find out that new thing. Just like rap music. Now, I grew up in a culture of hip hop and rap, and a lot of it at the time was positive. Some of it was somewhat what we call demonic. Nowadays, majority of the music is demonic. And I'm a victim of that because I actually enjoy hip hop, right? It's to me, it's the poetry and how they can tell a story over a beat and rhyme. And they're using different structures of poetry within it. I enjoy the art of it, but I hate the message, right?
Yes.
I absolutely hate the message because
it's seductive. It's very seductive.
It's very seductive. And people will like to believe that, oh, rap music don't make people go out and doesn't make people go out and kill one another. Okay, then when you read your Bible, when the preacher is preaching and he's up there and he's hooping and hollering and he got you all in your emotions, or quote unquote all in your spirit, and he convicts you or unctions you to do something you wouldn't have done without him saying it, then is that not the same thing?
Exactly. And this is the same man. These are the same people that sleep with the kids in their churches. Bishop Eddie Long slept with those boys, raped those boys, right? If I remember correctly.
What about all the, if you talk to some black men and women, they will actually tell you that the pastors and the ministers slept with their significant other. And granted, I know we're speaking very anecdotal and personal experience, and that doesn't, again, I have to say this because I don't necessarily believe that religion within itself it's all bad. Okay. Because I was part of a church. We did giveaways where, you know, some of the things you have in your home, which is still in good shape, we will give to people who are less fortunate. Right. To me, that was a very good thing. But all the while, if you're telling me, okay, church, Joe Biden is the best thing for the black community, so let's go ahead and vote for Joe. And I'm bypassing and foregoing that he set up here and put over 100,000 black men in jail, and a large portion of them were exonerated because they were innocent. And then you look at him sit on national television and say, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. I mean, the blatant disrespect of Jim Crow Joe to tell us such a thing. And we still say, well, anything is better than Trump. Here's my thing. And I know you may disagree with this, Ricky. I believe both of them are white supremacists. But if somebody had to be president, and I know that somebody gonna be hitting me in my comment section. If somebody had to be president, which I didn't vote, right? Because I didn't vote, I don't have a voice. And I'll talk about that a little bit later because I don't vote, don't have a voice. It's not that I don't vote. Goddamn MAGA hat. It's not that I don't vote, is that I have nothing to vote for, right? Being a foundational Black American, I want to vote for something. When you just promised me a fish fry and butter biscuits, I'm not just going to vote to get somebody out of office because he doesn't speak nice to the black community, but he still doesn't do nothing, versus someone who speak nice to the black community, but doesn't do anything either. But when I look at the legislation and the bills that have been passed that essentially targets the black community because he went through the way of the church and the church supports him, then I should go and vote for him. And we don't understand we're freaking zombies of the black church because whatever they say, that's what we should do.
Well, the reason that I voted for Trump, and I'll tell anybody this, Trump is an asshole. You know, that's still my man though. He's an asshole, but he's my man. Reason why is because I'm sure you worked in the management, rather if it's military or out here in the civilian world. You've always had that one guy that you had to pull to the office and be like, listen, man, don't talk like that in front of the ladies. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get the company sued. Right. You always had that one guy that you had to, like, you know, pull to the side and be like, yo, did you take a shower today? You know, you kind of reeking, you know. But that one guy that you had to do this to was the hardest working son of a bitch in the company.
Okay.
That's Trump to me.
See, here's the thing. You know, I don't like to get in who's better, who's worse. I have to go by their track record. Trump never made any anti-black policies. He didn't.
Exactly.
Trump didn't take away from HBCUs. He gave to HBCUs. Okay. But I still believe he's a racist bastard, but that's neither here nor there. But when I look at certain things that he's done versus the things that Biden is doing and is not doing,
you should have went out and voted for Trump, man. We needed you.
Here's my thing, right? Reparation first before everything else. And we talked about reparations before. And even though he spoke with Ice Cube about the black contract with America, he still didn't make any promises. He still didn't curate any executive orders like, hey, if I'm elected president again, this executive order is getting signed. None of that essentially occurred. So that's why I say I didn't, you know, me personally, I didn't vote because there was nothing on the table for us. But when we look at these things, I hate to say it, Ricky, I really do. We probably, as black people are becoming more entrepreneurs and big business, we probably was better off.
Say it, go ahead.
Trump in office.
See, you feel better now, don't you?
I feel horrible. I feel horrible because either way I look at it, you still fight. You're still voting for a white oppressive class.
But at the same time, though, we're looking at a man. Okay, I had the same conversation with my ex-roommate, Monica, right? Me and Monica were sitting down over a plate of fish, and she says, you know, she's a white woman. She says, I believe Trump is a racist bastard. And I believe the reason he done all those things he done with the HBCUs, and I believe the reason that, you know, he was looking at this platinum package was to prove that he's not a racist. I said, yeah, Monica, but let's look at one thing, though, when it comes to those HBCUs, because they are underfunded until he came into office. He did it. He did it. No matter what the reason was, we benefited from it. Let's look at the whole thing with the Civil War. You know, Abraham Lincoln didn't free the slaves because he liked black people, but at the end of the day, he did it. You see what I'm saying? So when we start looking at politics, I've worked with people that I don't like before. I got a guy who works for me now. Me and him, we hate each other. He's a fucking know-it-all. The way he talks about his wife, his newborn baby, I can't stand the son of a bitch, right? But I know that if there's something that needed to be done, if I got to send an agent out of town, you know, if there's a hurricane or something, he's going to be the first one on the plane. Before I ask him, he's calling me from the airport, telling me he lost his luggage, but he's there. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, that's one thing us as a we as a community got to learn to do. We got to learn to work with people that we don't like if they're doing the job, even if we can't stand them. As long as they're on the clock and they're doing right by us, then that's okay. Now we're dealing with Jim Crow Joe, who's doing nothing but taking from the community, who's doing nothing but pushing the community further backwards, who's doing nothing for us but actually exploiting us more and more. I mean, there's a silent race war that
87% of the black community voted for Joe Biden. He stood up and said, the African American community stood up for me, voted me in, and I'm gonna have their back.
Yeah, by replacing us with illegal immigrants.
Oh my! So before we move there, because I know people are going to ask about this, Ricky, and this is no attack to you, brother. No attack.
Okay.
We do have differences on certain topics, and I love that. We need to have some pushback on one another, keep each other honest. People are going to talk about that shirt you have on. People are going to talk about that shirt you have on because that's the 3% shirt, correct? When they look at this sign right here, and that's your shirt, correct?
I don't want to get your channel banned.
but some people would associate, you know, this logo with white supremacy. Now, before we move on, do you just mind explaining what that shirt means and what it means to you?
To me, it's a sign of rebellion. I'm a rebel, okay, aka the melanated rebel. It's a sign of rebellion against tyranny. A lot of people, they'll say that this is a white supremacist sign, and I'm like, no, it's not. This is a sign of the 3% of the colonists that fought in the Revolutionary War against the British, right? Mm-hmm. So whenever people talk about, you know, me being because I'm a patriot through and through. But I believe in the spirit of America, not the government of America. And when I say the spirit of America, I mean the will of the people. Now, you have different people calling the 3%ers, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, things of that nature, white supremacists, right? But I did.
So you do believe that the Proud Boys are white supremacists?
No, they're not.
They're not. Okay.
I did a documentary on them. It's on my website, and where I mean, if the Proud Boys were white supremacists, I've been around neo-Nazis before. When I was in the company of neo-Nazis, it was not a good thing. It ended up getting physical. You see what I'm saying? But when they start talking about, you know, the Proud Boys being a bunch of white supremacists, I'm like, what white supremacist would sit down, drink beer with me, walk me back to my hotel room to make sure I got back safe? You know,
I could tell you though, Ricky, because in white supremacy groups, the leader is an Afro-Cuban. They would say that they have their token Negroes, right? That
as the leader.
Like Barack Obama. Not saying that he was quote unquote a white supremacist, but some people would like to believe he was a puppet of white supremacy. So in certain groups like 3%ers or the Proud Boys there's a lot of other groups out there that they have their quote unquote black trophies that will stand in front and say, hey, listen, we got black members, so we can't be racist. And they use you guys supposedly. Now, I'm saying this because me personally, I've done a lot of research on these different groups, and I believe that they are white supremacists. But again, I want to have your take on it because maybe there's information that I'm not aware of. Maybe there's information I don't know.
They actually have, like when I was in DC, it was a lot of them with the swastika crossed out on their helmets, meaning that they're against white supremacy. One of the guys that I was with in Washington, D.C., I met him in D.C. We turned out to be good friends up until this very day.
Okay.
And I don't know of any white supremacists, and not at all. Like, for instance, somebody was dropping the N-bomb around him. It was a black person dropping the N-bomb around him. And he was like, no, please don't use that word around me, please, man. He's like, I understand that black people can call each other that, but please don't use that word around me. I mean, he was more along the lines of the word is disgusting no matter who's saying it and how it's being said. And I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, he wasn't fronting, you know. And he said that, you know, that's one thing that that group is just totally against is racism. Now, with that being said, how many real white supremacists would actually take that stance? White supremacists are very proud of being white supremacists. They don't deny it. They wear the tattoos. They let you know who they are. You know what I'm saying?
But, you know, through the course of time, especially back in the slavery times, they had black people in charge of slaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whipping slaves. And some people will say that people like yourself, quote unquote, you know, you got the 3% shirt on, you go to Trump rallies, you wear the MAGA hat, that you will be the modern day coon, right? But I'm looking at the Urban Dictionary here. It says a coon is a black guy who worships white girls and does not like his own race. A black guy who doesn't barely claims being black. Now, I know that you definitely say that you're black, so I'm pretty sure that's just kind of, you know, right, black power. So some people didn't say, are you confused about what you are and what you essentially support?
Everything I do, you know, as far as in the political world, is to try to benefit us. When people ask me why did I, you know, push so hard for Trump, right? I knew that the adversary was against black entrepreneurship. We can't run businesses if we're being taxed to hell. We can't hire new people. We can't expand. We can't network if we're being exploited. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Trump, as a businessman, don't give a shit what color you are as long as you can produce that green. And when it came down to it, I went so hard for Trump because I knew what we were up against. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
What's going on, JD Informant? But I knew what, you know, we were up against as a community. And everything I do, I've never wanted our community to fail. I would be laughing right now if I see black people being, you know, tell you a quick story.
Okay.
The Ahmaud Arbery case. Now, I hate watching what they call murder porn. I hate
You said murder one?
murder porn.
Okay.
One day I was in, you know, and I saw what happened to Ahmaud Arbery. That shit just had me break down. I had to go, you know, away from my wife. I closed the doors, came in here. This is my man cave. And I just broke down. And it was like, it was a feeling of sorrow, but it was rage. Because that could have easily been me. You see what I'm saying? That could have been easily me or somebody I love. So I let it go. You know what I'm saying? I got to meditating. I let it go. And then I see Candace Owens do a video. Then I see Officer Tatum do a video. And I saw the comment section. Now, I've been retired from broadcasting for a while.
Okay.
at that moment in time. I probably didn't broadcast before then for about 3 to 4 years. I fired up my phone, did a video, shit went viral. And I was like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Tough Love was one of the first people that saw the video. It was Tough Love, Rocket Man, Rocky Matrix, Dax Durham, and a guy by the name of Ray and Byrne. They saw the video. These were the only 4 people that was on my side in that comment section of hundreds of people that was calling me all kinds of communists, liberals, blah, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying? Popular conservative guy by the name of Jericho Green chimed in with some words to say.
Okay.
And I'm like, look at this shit. Like, this man lost his life and y'all defending it. He was running and then said, well, he shouldn't have reached for the guy's gun. Well, the guy was chasing him and drew the gun on him, trying to get him. Well, he should have cooperated with 2 people that are not police officers. They were making excuses for why this man horribly lost his life.
So you're not making excuses for their actions.
Not at all. I would never do that.
Exactly.
Never. What with the Ma'Khia Bryant thing, you know what I'm saying? It didn't hit me until I was in the middle of the broadcast. And I asked, while y'all sitting here saying that this cop was racist for shooting her, did y'all ever ask why didn't she deserve better? And I just broke down, man. I had to turn the camera off. I was like, damn, she was a child. See, you can't pay me enough to show my face on camera and say something so horrible about somebody that looks like me, that could have been me, or somebody that I could have known. And you could tell by the way that cop was acting when it was all said and done. He didn't want to do that. I mean, if you saw the Ma'Khia Bryant video, you seen that cop's actions. The one thing I could commend him for was keeping a cool head to be able to make that shot. You see what I'm saying? But when it was all said and done, he was panicking. This wasn't a man who had hatred in him. This was a man who was trying to save the other girl's life. He didn't know that the girl who was wielding a knife and had it in mid-swing was the one who called him out there. Only thing he could go by is what he saw. And I got called all kind of coons and Uncle Ruckuses for saying that the cop did the right thing at that moment in time. But they was like, well, he could have tased her. He could have done this, that, and the third. She had a knife in mid-swing. She was getting ready to plunge that girl. And I'm like, how could, I mean, sometimes it hurts my feelings and it makes me upset at the same time that people could be so goddamn misled that they can't hear common sense. What was he supposed to do? Some old Jackie Chan shit? They don't train the police officers to do that in, the academy. Like,
I know what situation you're talking about, and I'll just say this: I have a difference of opinion. I saw it very differently, but I mean, it's very debatable because we're trying to explain a situation where we saw it from maybe 1 or 2 angles, and again, I disagree with the narrative that he wasn't pretty much doing a race killing. That's kind of my stance. And again, the disagreement is great, right? Because we all have our different opinions. But I do have one more question for you here.
Okay.
The year 2024. If Donald Trump runs again, whether it be against Jim Crow Joe or Michelle Obama or Kamala Mammy Harris, who do you think that Black people should rally behind and why?
Trump, of course, because we're seeing the end results of Jim Crow Joe's promises. We see his affiliation with Michelle Obama. We see his affiliation with Kamala Harris. The things that Black people are going through right now should wake them up. It should wake them up big time. But see, my biggest fear is that I don't put anything past the gullibility, or should I say stupidity, of the black voters that votes for these idiots. Jim Crow Clyburn, Jim Bojangles Clyburn has been voted in year after year after year after year. And while this area of South Carolina remains poor, we could have a lot more black people working over there on them ports. We could have a lot more black people in this town fixing up their businesses. I don't know if you've ever been to Charleston, South Carolina, but it looks like downtown New Orleans. Downtown Charleston, South Carolina is a hole.
Wow.
It's a hole. Some of these buildings around here looks like, and they're in the freaking historic district. They look like they're falling apart, just like New Orleans. And I'm thinking to myself,
so
like,
do you live in Clyburn's district?
Yep, Charleston.
Wow. So I guess you're going to vote for Marcel Dixon then.
Damn right I am. And I'm going to be helping them push his campaign on the streets as well. When people ask me about Marcel Dixon's stance on reparations or whatnot, like it's this one guy that I'm going to be honest with you, there was a guy that was in my chat room that if he was in front of me saying some of the things he was saying, I'd punch him in the face.
What was he saying?
Well, first off, he was defending Ahmaud Arbery, defending the killers of Ahmaud Arbery. Talking about, well, what was he doing over there? This guy is a straight up coon. And he was in your chat room.
He was another
night.
black guy.
Yeah. And he was in your chat room that night calling Marcel Dixon a racist Marxist and talking about, yeah, this is what South Carolina got to vote for. Best of luck. Trust and believe. If he was in South Carolina, you know what I'm saying? I would probably be bailing myself out of, a situation with him, because the thing is,
I don't support violence, Ricky.
No, I'm not saying I'd be bailing myself out of a situation. I would have hurt his feelings. But, the thing is with him, he was in your chat room talking all that smack. And that's when I, did a video that I took offline. But I told him who I really am. And that, you keep fucking around the places that I'm at. And, I'm going to start, letting you know who I am. Just leave me alone. Leave the people I affiliate with alone. Just stay away from my circle. Stay away from me. You know what I mean? Because, I don't do the harassment thing. You see what I'm saying? And he was just straight up trying to be a harasser. But at the end of the day, even if I didn't agree with reparations, I'd still pull for Marcel Dixon. You know why? Because anybody but Jim Bojangles Clyburn.
Oh, wow. So now you're doing the same thing that black voters did when they said anything is better than Trump.
Well, I have a reason to.
Because here's the thing. Let me ask a different type of question. What will Trump do, in your opinion? Because I know you essentially don't know, but what do you think he'll do that will benefit black people?
Well, one, I think he'll give the entrepreneurs tax breaks. So that way we can grow. I think you're in business for yourself as well, right?
Yes, sir.
So, wouldn't it feel good to actually be able to have more money spending out that you can hire other people so you don't have to work so hard?
Absolutely.
I would love to turn my company into a 12-employee corporation where the only thing I do is just come in and be like, okay, all the reports done. All right. Everything's good. I can hire somebody to do what I'm doing, which is overseeing and doing the micromanagement. And the only thing, I could spend more time on the golf course. Let my money work for me. You know what I'm saying? Instead of me having to go out in the field with my agents. And when Jim Bojangles Clyburn talking about, yeah, we know this man knows us. He knows our community. And I'm sitting here looking at him like, really?
He never lived in our community.
He never lived in our community. He talks to us like shit. And nobody talks about that, though.
Absolutely. And I think, well, I know certain divisive terms that Donald Trump has used, which, most people, doesn't agree with it. But again, the truth is in the pudding. The state of our country financially was in better shape under
Donald Trump. You just don't like Donald Trump. Just come out and say it. You don't like Donald Trump, but you know you like what he does.
It's not a. To me, it's not a. It's not a like. It is that when people will have you to vote the lesser of two evils, and I think a lot of reparationists who believes in reparations first for this country has done to our ancestors and what we are owed. If Donald Trump say, I will give black people reparations, and essentially showed and told us how he would do it, and actually had laws and things already curated, that's a 10 times better than Jim Crow Joe has ever done, or any other president. Because again, Barack Obama didn't do nothing. And as Jay the Informant said here, you put Obama, you put Kamala Harris in there. Kamala already told you. She said the LIFT Act. That's going to lift everybody up. If black people are on the bottom and you lift everybody up, guess where we're still at? We're still on the bottom. So when you look at it, my thing is, if Donald Trump were to say things like that, I probably would vote. Because I definitely wasn't going to vote for nothing, but I would definitely vote for something. And I've been hearing a lot of chatter, been a lot of things that a lot of black men are now, quote unquote, secretly under the covers, behind the scenes, are becoming Republicans for this very same reason. Because some people would like to believe that Donald Trump kept Putin, I keep saying Putin, but Putin in check. Do you believe that he did that? Do you believe he kept him in check, kept him at Holmes Bay? You believe that?
Yes, because I think that there were certain deals. Well, I can't talk about too much on this channel, but but I think there were certain things he had done behind the scenes that were actually, working. Because the reason I think that Putin's acting out the way he's doing, it would be kind of like me saying, if you and I didn't like each other, right?
Right.
But I planted bombs in your backyard.
Okay.
Or planted bombs at your neighbor's house. If your neighbor's house explodes, your house is going to explode as well, right? And now we have a relationship where you feed me with a long-handed spoon. Will you trust me to hold bombs beside you?
No.
So if this happened with Canada, if Russia and Canada was working together and they said, we're going to park our nukes right here, how do you think the American public would react? Even with Joe Biden in office.
Total turmoil.
Exactly. So, I mean, Putin has a right to be the way he is. And I think that what was going to happen is that Trump was like working with him to say, okay, we're moving our stuff out. Trump pulled us away from NATO. And if you remember in the summer of 2020, NATO called Donald Trump dangerous because he was wanting to become a sovereign nation away from all of those federations over there, while he was working with Putin. So basically, that would have put America against the EU. They would have put America against the NATO if them two had worked out a deal to say, okay, get those damn labs out of and those weapons out of Ukraine. You see what I'm saying? So why else would a president receive so much disrespect, so much? I mean, think about it. Look at George Bush. George Bush, pretty much started a war. He started a war. And nobody gave him that kind of disrespect. Nobody gave him that kind of smoke. Kanye West did, and he looked like a nut job doing so. And they made Kanye West look like a nut job for saying what he said about George Bush when he says George Bush don't care about black people.
He did.
And, and he went off the script and said that. They was like, whoa, wait a minute, Kanye, you can't disrespect the president of the United States. Yet, when Donald Trump get into office, the gloves came off. Everybody came at the president. And I'm thinking to myself, like, whoa, so what was the point of all this? Well, it was to sway public opinion, for one. We were bringing up things that Trump done back in the 1970s, but nobody's bringing up what, Joe Biden did just 3 years ago. What Kamala Harris was doing 3 years ago. But we're talking about Trump in the 1970s kicking black people out of his apartments, or so they say, right? But nobody's talking about Kamala Harris giving black people a permanent place to live. If you know what I mean.
There's been people from the black media have been pointing that out because they said essentially the narrative around it is that if there had to be a president, and again, this is my conjecture about it, that we should have left the races we know in office versus the other races that we knew and what he did in office. That's kind of, you know, and again, I understand black people who support Donald Trump, they don't believe he's a racist. I got it. But again, I must say, when I look at the state of Black America and where the trajectory of us going under the Donald Trump administration was a lot better than under the Joe Biden administration, because the one thing that Donald Trump never did was promise us something. Right. So we knew not to expect anything. But going back to what you said something very powerful about he wasn't giving illegal immigration a pass where Joe Biden has, right? Even in the state of New York, they made illegal immigrants somehow legal immigrants. And when that whole news story broke that he was going to give, I think, illegal immigrants $450,000, and then no, that he wasn't going to do that. But now we're seeing billions of dollars going out to support Ukraine, and I know you've seen this as well, because I do stock reviews Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on my channel. Tomorrow morning I have a stock review. It's a Chinese stock, and U.S. media believes that Russia has asked China for military and economic support. So are we now going to put sanctions on China? Because 90% of the products in America is made in China or Taiwan or somewhere in East Asia somewhere. So, I mean, when we look at these particular things, are we going to essentially go against everyone who doesn't agree with our narrative? Because here's the thing.
Walmart would shut down in a minute.
History, we can do the background of Ukraine and Russia, because I've done it. And this is why I really don't believe we should be support for Ukraine. I saw something, I forgot where it was, but it was like, do you want to donate money to Ukraine? No. Do they want to donate money to the Black community of all the ravishing projects and hoods that we live in to rebuild our buildings and stop gentrification and stop redlining and stop gerrymandering? No, they have not. So, but now you want us to essentially, I feel like we're the mascot for every movement. Let's just get Black people support them, everybody support them.
We are. The crazy thing is, like, I did a short video talking about the price of gas on YouTube, right? And one of those liberals jumped in my comment section talking about, there's a war going on in Ukraine right now, and you worried about the price of gas. Well, Black people are dying at a disproportionate rate in these inner cities, and these motherfuckers are worried more about fucking stray dogs and cats. You see what I'm saying? These motherfuckers they care more about animals than they do Black people. Why? Because
Jay
they see us
says,
as animals.
the United States will have India making a lot of products. It will still be cheaper than made in America. And a lot of people understand that. I don't think some people know, but some people may not know the relationship between Russia, China, and India. They have a strong relationship.
They do.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that connection.
And the people in India are backing Russia right now. If you look at that Indian media, they're backing Russia for what they're doing. And India said that they want to stay away from they want to stay neutral. And the United States is putting pressure on India to join in with, but India's right there in their backyard. Of course, they're going to be like, no, we're going to sit this one out.
But India may fold. Let me tell you something. A lot of jobs that I've worked in, I'm talking about high-level corporate jobs that I've worked in, they have a lot of Indian workers, H-1 visa, whatever you want to call it, working in IT. I'm talking about thousands. We either be customer support answering the phone or actually doing IT work from India or in America. One of my old employers, Amazon, absolutely employs. They actually have a large headquarters over there in India. So America could put a lot of pressure on India where they stop, their visas, their working visas from coming over here. They can stop customer support agency. India will lose thousands, if not, because there's a billion people in India. So I would like to believe that America is probably employing 20% of India. If we stop that economy will fall. So we can put pressure on them.
But look at it like this too, though. India, I'm Cisco certified, right?
Okay.
I used to work for Lucid Technologies. Let me tell you what happened to us. We went to India. We trained them.
Okay.
Right? They say, yeah, we're extending our call center to India. We need, the build their base up, this, that, and the third. So while I'm in India, I'm like, okay, we're giving them a lot of power from our country here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
We installed it was an entire room full of DACs. We put them DACs up, man, and they were like, I'm like, man, this looks like the same shit the setup we got back in South Carolina.
Same exact thing.
We get back home. They send us to New Orleans to train some people down there. This was during Mardi Gras that year. We get back to South Carolina. We drove down there in the company SUV, and I get back in the parking lot. My favorite boss in the world. I would not trade him for anything, man. He was so awesome. It was a guy from the Middle East named Hussein Fardovas. He's in tears. And I'm thinking, what's wrong? Abdullah, which is his brother, was standing there too. Both of them sitting there in tears. Like, we thought we'd just tell you this, face to face. I hate to have to tell you this, but America, the Lucid Technologies, this branch is folded. All the support's going to come from India now. We've flown over there and trained them to do our jobs. At 24 years old, 6-figure salary, gone.
I mean, when I looked at the way Trump ran the business, because I did a video a while back basically stating how America is a corporation. Mm-hmm. And that's how Trump ran it. He ran it as a big business, which America is. And I think that's why we were doing financially better under Trump. Now, a lot of people didn't like the racial tone and racial environment that, of course, Democrats and anyone who didn't like Trump spew that. Me personally, I try to look at your track record and your paperwork of what you're actually doing. Mm-hmm. Now, I can definitely say Trump said a lot of dumbass shit.
Yes, he did. And he's done some dumb things. And I mean,
right.
I love Trump, but I would never. Okay, I'm gonna go down the list of things that Trump done that was stupid.
Oh, but let me say this: Trump never said, "If you don't vote for me, you ain't black." I mean, to me, that's kind of like the slave master talking to the slave. That's the way I kind of looked at it, right? And again, this is not popular for a lot of people, especially if you're a go hard Democrat. It's not going to be popular. And for me, I always get attacked on both sides because most people do not like a person who doesn't like to pick sides. And to me, I just pick the side of being pro-black and reparations. And people absolutely hate that because I hear all of these plans that people may have when they come out and say, well, if we get every black person $1 million, what you going to do? You going to put rims on your car? You going to buy big gold chains? And I said, you do. What if we did?
If you do, you do.
What if we did?
Listen to this, though. This is the way I look at it. If I was to get a check from the U.S. government tomorrow, let's say if Joe Biden turned over a new leaf and say, I'm going to do right by black people, we're going to give you $450,000 a piece. I'm going to deposit that money in the bank, right? I'm gonna take my business spending card. I'm gonna get me some space. I'm gonna buy 3 storefronts.
But I think you're doing well for yourself. You're right on the water right there. So
it's just the background. I'm gonna buy 3 storefronts. I'm gonna buy a liquor store. I'm gonna buy a rim store, and I'm gonna buy a clothing store.
you better buy a weed dispensary.
No, they're not gonna legalize that no time soon. That's still federal regulated. But those 3 things I will buy, and I will make the money. I will double my money because what's the first? I mean, that's the thing that I tell people that vote Democrat. These Democrats are pushing for communism. We're capitalists. Black people are capitalists. We like the jewelry, we like the clothes, we like to be seen in our nice cars. I mean, every time I do a TikTok video from my car, I make sure that people can see, my, the car that I'm driving. You see what I'm saying? I make sure that people can see how good I'm looking, in some cases, how good I have it, where I'm eating, what's on the menu where I'm eating, how much that is. I like for people to know.
You said black people are capitalists, but whether you are Republican or Democrat, you're still a capitalist, right?
But if you're a Democrat in today's terms, they're pushing for communism, and communism and capitalism will not work.
Well. That's a bold claim. Explain how Democrats are pushing communism.
Well, think about it. They're trying to get us involved in this war, right? They're hooking us up with a federation. There's going to be things that the government controls. I think that if we were to go 8 years under Democrats, 6 more years under Democratic ruling right now, you and I wouldn't be able to have this conversation on a public platform.
Correct.
This would be something we'd talk about in the barbershop, because the one thing they don't want is us actually speaking our minds so that others may be influenced by our thought.
True.
So yeah, they're pushing more. And and there's people who make money doing what we're doing right now. That's their bread and butter. You see what I'm saying? So with that being said, that is a form of communism. The way they want to control the information, that's a form of communism. The way they want to run this government is a form of communism. The way they want to dictate to a man or a woman what to do with their body is a form of communism. The way that they're trying to sink their hooks in big business and put people like you and me out of business is a form of communism. All of this stuff that black people thrive to do. I mean, think about it. If you was to take, because this is what I tell my fellow conservatives, black conservatives. It's the will of everybody to want to do good. It's just that you got to show them love and you got to show them the way. And you can't be hypocritical in your stance. You can't be condemning in your stance. You can't be judgmental in your stance. It's about just showing them love and showing them the way. That's simple. A lot of times, with these black conservatives I've seen, well, I call them grifters anyway, MAGA moochers. They'll put on the MAGA hats and they'll start bashing black people and talking about the flaws within the black community. Now, me, on the other hand, if I'm going to get in front of an this is why I refuse to work with the Tea Party here in South Carolina, because I'm not going to go walking around with Blexit t-shirts on when, one, I am my own organization. 1, 2, I can stand in front of an all-white audience and keep the same energy for an all-black audience. A lot of those black conservatives, they'll get in front of that white audience and do all that shucking and jiving and bojangling and butt dancing. Get in front of a black audience and be all authoritarian and telling them to sit down and shut up.
But some people will argue, Ricky, that the black community is actually turning socialist, because let me tell you, when I start asking people why they vote Democrat, right? And of course, they always tell me, well, you didn't vote, so you don't have a voice. And again, I'm right after this, I'm going to talk about that, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because when you hold your vote, it's a show of power. Because if you can get 25 to even 30% of the black community to hold their vote, you then have power. It can't just be me. It has to be. And that's why a lot of people within the black media are coming out and say, well, what are we voting for? right? Because we voted for Joe Biden, but nothing has essentially taken place. But let me get back on my point. I heard a lot of Democrats, especially black men and women, who stated the reason why they voted for Joe, other than to get Donald Trump out of office, was for their college bills to be paid off. Remember that? They voted for their college bills to get paid off and some remnants of, I think, what Obama tried to do or pretended try to do is universal health care. But a lot of people are like, yeah, man, I'm not going to pay my school bills because Joe Biden said he's going to pay off our school bills. Okay, wait for that. That shit ain't going to happen. I can tell you that right now.
Like I said earlier, with the original topic of the conversation of the black church, plantation Christianity has got our people, melanated people, for the most, giving praises and expecting no results anyhow. Do you really think, I'm going to be honest with you, do you really think that they believe their own bullshit?
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm trying to tell you, man, you have some people that one cannot separate Christianity from being democratic and being a Democrat. You can't separate the two because they essentially go hand in hand. They still reside on the same plantation because they believe in this Marxist, and some things Marx said has some really good points, because we understand that socialism is a direct connection to communism. Mm-hmm. And when you're having the state to pay for everything you voluntarily signed up for and to pay for, but now you expect your government to pay for it. My question is this: with all the tax dollars, if I pay more taxes than you, and then your bills get paid off, but I paid off my bills, how does that fair? How does that work?
How's that fair to you?
Right. And then second thing, let me just talk about this. My gosh. When people talk about because you didn't vote, you don't have a voice. Some people like to say we live in a democracy. It's actually a republic democracy. When you vote, you no longer have any power, right? Because once you select and elect an official in office, they are now your representative. You don't have any power. Your vote is gone. But if I'm sitting over here with, say it's 40 million Black Americans, and I'm sitting over here and I got 10 million Black Americans, we can swing a vote either way. We can put people in the presidency and we can take them out the presidency. And we got 10 million. We're just holding that vote like, until you give us reparation and give us what you owe, we're not going to vote. The first person who says, I'm giving Blacks reparations, I guarantee they would be the president. But unfortunately, we're so easy manipulated, coerced, and tricked that I don't think it'll happen.
Let me there's a flip side to that coin. If you don't vote, right, and you give power, they're still going to operate the way they're going to do with or without your vote.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They're still going to operate in the same fashion that they're doing with or without your vote. And now it's to the point that they don't care about our votes anymore because, these our lower class in our community are so dedicated to the Democrats that they empowered them to the point that they're pushing more illegal immigration in and making them citizens so they don't have to come to us and ask us for shit anymore. Look at the way Jim Clyburn talked to Marcel Dixon versus the way he talked to that immigrant about DACA. It was like with Marcel Dixon, it was more like, sit down and shut up. And with her, it was like, yes, ma'am.
He was very passive aggressive during that conversation. And that's why I played that conversation, because I thought it was important. When he got chin checked by Marcel, he didn't know how to essentially respond. So he tried to belittle him in front of all those people. But that's why Marcel is now stating that his campaign is taking off because he's speaking to the people, because he's basically is saying, hey, take off your blinders. Okay, take off your blinders, take off your shades. Here, a pair of new eyes. Jim Clyburn has been the congressman for the 6th district in South Carolina for 30 years. Show me how your neighborhood and community has changed. And they realize it changed, but for the worse. And he's trying to make things better. I hope the brother wins. Again, I support his campaign. I donated money to him. Hopefully, big names like Professor Black Truth, Tariq Nasheed, Jason Black have the opportunity to at least put him on the platform. I don't think he'll ever make it to Roly Poly Martin. We already know what he's about.
Oh, Roly Poly Martin is well, see, that's the thing too. Like me as a constitutional conservative, no matter what party it is, if they're giving me the things I want to hear and they're showing me plans, and I said this Saturday at the Trump rally, one thing Trump needs to do is one, separate themselves from these black conservatives that are using his name to bash black people and be homophobic. Get rid of them. They're not what this party needs right now. The second thing he would do, if I was him, what I would do is I would pick Tulsi Gabbard as my VP.
Mm-hmm.
Tulsi Gabbard. Now, she's a Democrat, just like Marcel Dixon's a Democrat, and he's getting my vote. And the thing is, with Tulsi Gabbard, think about this now. What other Democrat do they talk to on conservative media? None of them. But they'll bring Tulsi Gabbard on because she's a middle of the line politician. She's willing to work bipartisan to get shit done. You see what I'm saying? She was the one who called out Jim Crow Joe, called out Kamala Harris during that debate. I didn't even know all of this about Kamala Harris before she put it in the limelight, and I started researching it, and I found out for myself, this bitch is evil.
But don't forget, Marcel, he's running on a Democratic ticket, but as he state, he's not really a Democrat, Republican, or centrist, or independent, because he takes the good from each side and putting in his very comprehensive plan for the black community. And I say, well, you got white constituents too. So he has a plan for everybody. But the first one, he said reparations is first, second, and last.
Now, do you know why he's running on a Democratic ticket? I figured that out.
Oh, it's political. We
got a lot of black Democratic voters in this part of the state.
Right.
Like, these people will vote blue no matter who. So by him coming up against Clyburn and voting blue no matter who, well, wait a minute. Because if he came in as a Republican, they'll look at him and be like, nah, fuck him.
But I'm going to tell you what he's going to do. Clyburn is going to discredit Marcel. First and foremost, I think he's going to attack passively of the community that he's in, the LGBT community. He's going to attack that. I don't know how he's going to do it because it has to be very, very political. And when you look at the Democratic Party, which is especially in the black community, majority of black people are Democratic and majority of black people are Christians.
Well, if that was the case, they wouldn't have voted Barack Obama in a second term, nor would they have voted for Jim Crow Joe this term.
Man, you know why they voted for Barack Obama. The same reason why I voted for him.
Same reason why I voted for him as well.
Here's the thing. I'm not gonna lie to people. I voted for Barack Obama. I mean, of course, I won't go. I mean, he was the first real candidate that looked good, sound good. He was a celebrity. He was the picture perfect president, and he was black. Check mark, right? And then we didn't go off the words he said. I don't think none of us listened to him. We yeah, he black.
Yep.
So come his second term, I said, well, Barack Obama didn't do nothing for black people the first term. He wanted to win a second term, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be passing all types of bills and legislation to assist black people. I was wrong. he didn't do anything. And then he came out, what is it, a couple of months ago, stating why he didn't do anything for black people. He basically blamed it on white people. I mean, the sheer benign neglect that we have received from the Democratic Party, and I just believe that no black person, if you're not in politics, right? You should just be nothing. You should just be vote for whoever. I remember, and people, and I'll tell people this: when Bush ran, this is very unpopular, by the way. When Bush ran, I think it was his second term, he came out and stated that he was going to give the military a 3.4% raise. I voted for Bush.
I voted for Bush twice.
I voted for the money. I'm not going to lie. I voted for the money.
I voted for Bush the first time because at that moment in time in my life, I was like, okay, he's connected, you know what I'm saying, to these people. You know what I mean? He's connected. I liked Obama as well at first.
Until I filed my taxes. Now, I will say this. I got a bigger,
in California, so that's saying a lot right there.
I got a larger tax return under Donald Trump.
See? Oh, man.
Yeah, I know, man.
See, right now, what you're doing, this is a campaign. I'm going to take this video, and I'm going to show it when I'm out in the community politicking.
I mean, here's the thing. Black people, we can lie to ourselves. We can say that Donald Trump created all of these racist people. Some people are smart enough to say, well, Donald Trump, essentially gave them the spotlight to be, because here's the thing. Donald Trump, in my opinion, didn't create racist while he was in the presidency. Some people like to believe he just highlighted, and bypass racist behavior and racist rhetoric. Okay. But I don't believe he created any more races than America already had. Right. He kind of made them more emboldened to speak, whatever some of the public things they would never really say under a black president or under a Democratic president, because some people will argue, well, some of the things that people were saying and doing under the Donald Trump presidency, they're not doing under the Joe Biden presidency.
I gotta call foul there. I'll tell you what.
Go ahead.
We still have these black conservative grifters. You know what I'm saying? Namely, Candace Owens, Officer Tatum, ABL, Jericho Green, all those guys, right? Right. That they say some pretty foul shit, and they got a bunch of support because they can say the things that these white people can't say that are racist. And you got a difference between conservatives, white conservatives, and then you have clown conservatives. White conservatives, they don't even acknowledge racism and none of that shit. It doesn't exist to them, and it's not their problem. Okay, I can respect that. Clown conservatives, oh boy, they like to go in on us. They go in on us hard. And they love the fact that if and this is why I say I believe in freedom of speech. I want the clown conservatives to be able to say what they want to say. You know why? Without cancel culture.
Why is
people
that?
will be like, well, damn, Ricky, that's kind of harsh. No. I may disagree with their message, but God damn it, they got the right to say it. And at least if they say it, then I'll know exactly who they are, instead of somebody hiding behind some screen name in a fucking Candace Owens video, and an Officer Tatum video, and an ABL video, and a Jericho Green video.
You really don't like these people, do you?
I can't stand them because they hurt me more than they help me.
Okay.
If I'm like,
you know what? Should we if we kind of revisit and circle back to the illegal immigration, we have to understand there's a difference between you and I referring to lineage and Candace Owens. Candace Owens is her family lineage is not from America.
It's from the Caribbean.
Correct.
And so a lot of these bootlickers, they'll get up there and they'll shuck a jive and dance for the butter biscuits. But then when somebody run across somebody like me, the first thing they do, on both sides has lumped me in that category. Where another black person to see me, you know, they'll be like, "Oh, he's one of them bootlickers. Let's get at him." Or one of those conservatives will see my rebel flag in the background, and the first thing they scream is, "Oh, he's one of us. You know, he's one of the good ones. Let me get with him." You know what I'm saying? And I disappoint both sides very drastically. I've lost people that used to rock with me, that used to donate lots of money to me, because I spoke out against Messi Lee Peterson. I spoke out against Candace Owens, Coon Dance Snow Winds, and the Officer Bastard Tantrum.
What? You don't like Jesse Peterson?
No, Messi Lee Peterson. Fuck him. You know what I'm saying? He's another one of those people that use Christianity as a grift, and I'm like, no, listen. If
he's part of the Chrome Brigade for real,
yes, and it's like I tell, you know, and I had a talk this morning with a gentleman that was in the South Carolina Tea Party that I left. You know, we just ran across each other at a restaurant. We was getting ready to go to the coffee shop, and we sat there and talked. He said, "Listen, Ricky," he says, he said, "A big mistake that a lot of us make here in the Tea Party is that most of us are white, and we don't see things from a black man's perspective." He said, "That's why I miss having you around, because even though you got, you know, shunned a lot for speaking your mind, you were actually educating me on things that I never thought about." He says, like when you spoke on Candace Owens on the podium, he says, "I never even looked at it that way." And it was just a simple thing. It was a simple thing. I said, how many black people like Candace Owens? How many black people like Malcolm X? How many black people do you see her speak in front of besides when she got shut down in Atlanta? Why did they have such disrespect for her? Not because she's not a liberal or anything, but the fact of the matter is, if you put Louis Farrakhan in front of that same crowd, people would have listened. If you had to put Dr. Martin Luther King in front of that same crowd, and if Martin Luther King was a conservative, people would have listened. If you had to put Malcolm X in front of that same crowd, people would have listened. Why? Because they don't justify the deaths of our young brothers and sisters out there on the streets and make excuses for these white people that pull the trigger in these crimes.
Absolutely.
I said, so when you get somebody that's just pissing black people off, they're done with them. That should tell you, that should speak volumes that the only people who have anything to do with them are white people. If Candace Owens was to catch a bullet today, how many black people do you see would be celebrating or mourning? I would be the one sitting up here like, who did it? Where can I put money on their books?
I don't condone violence, Ricky.
I don't either, but I mean, come on, this hell for I mean, the thing is, what I would do if something like that was to happen to Candace Owens, even if it was a hate crime, I would do a video the next day saying, "Now, listen up, people. We got to get all the facts together before we go blaming for what happened here." You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would do her the same way she did Ahmaud Arbery. I would do her the same way she did George Floyd. I would do her the same way that, you know, she does a lot of people. And the reason why is because, like, I look at it on the aspect of, you know, when I left the Tea Party and they were asking me, why don't you want to work with Candace Owens? And I had to give it straight to them. I'm not going to work with somebody who will condone the murders of our own people. Another factor,
and she does that frequently.
Yes. Another factor, someone is not racist and listens to the things she says will create a discriminating view coming from a black woman. Right. Confirmation of bias. That's why when I speak, I mean, there's sometimes that I'm very not hypocritical, that I'm very critical of black people, but it's a slippery slope. You see what I'm saying? It's a very, very slippery slope because you could go from 0 to coon in 60 seconds. You see what I'm saying? In 6 seconds. So I make sure when I'm critical of black people that I'm actually at that one point where I'm being critical at, not just the overall generalization. I hit that certain point, that pain point, and that's what I speak on. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit back and be like, fuck all black people. I can't do that because these are my people too. And I am tethered to them. By race, I am tethered to them. We may not be cut from the same cloth, but I am tethered to them. So when I speak about the Johnny Bastard seed, so the weed wearing wicked witches, I'm not saying that the Johnny Bastard seed is every black man. I'm not saying that the weed wicked wearing witch or the weed wearing wicked witch is every black woman. But I will say that there's a certain class of us that we have to separate ourselves from and let them know, listen, if you're going to jump on board the freedom train, you can't be on no bullshit. You see what I'm saying?
I understand where you're coming from, man.
So I mean, white people do it to their own that they have a disdain for. Brad from the trailer park, huh?
I just want to say I believe one of the major problems that we have is even with our conversation, we're not going to agree on some things.
Uh-huh.
Now you take this to a larger audience, and you'll have people within our community to disagree on certain topics, on certain issues. So people will stop following, unsubscribe, stop listening to, stop supporting. But the one thing they probably need to understand is, okay, these people, let's take, for instance, you and I, they disagree on these things, but what do they agree on? See, my thing is I can befriend you. I can support you. I don't need to agree with everything that you say out of your mouth, right? Because now essentially you're my leader, you're my God. It's kind of like the people I follow heavily, and people may not agree with some of the things that they say out of their mouth. Like I don't agree with everything a Tariq Nasheed or a Jason Black may say, but I agree with a lot of good points that they actually make. These are intelligent brothers, right? That really support the community in some way or fashion, whether it be giving us a great oration and insight on certain issues. And again, I don't think they believe that a large part of the community agree with 100% things that they say. But the thing is, people will want to agree with everything you say in order to ride with you. And I don't think that needs to happen because, man, if we had 10 topics, man, we can agree on 3 and we can be good. Right? You say that so many things in support of the black community. People might, well, I don't agree with this with Ricky and what he's wearing and how but I agree on all of these other things. And see, that's the important thing. See, I will encourage my subscribers to go and subscribe to your channel, to give a different perspective and get different narrative and opinions and conjecture and a different train of thought, because I'm going to come at it one way, you're going to come at it another way, and then you can think for yourself. Because sometimes when you align yourself with, one person and you kind of want to agree with everything they say, you're a puppet. That's when you become a puppet. Because even you said Donald Trump said a lot of dumbass shit, and you don't agree with that, right? But you agree with some of the things that he did for the country, and I get that. I respect that. But I think that's where we really need to draw the line and say, you know what? I don't agree with everything the brother is saying, but on these things I agree, and I can listen to that.
Well, the thing is too, like when people say, "Oh, you're just a Trump humper," you worship Trump. Okay, I've publicly called Trump out on several things. One was his alignment with Candace Owens and these black coons, right?
Yes.
2, the way he tear gassed those people just to go across the street and take a photo op at that church in Washington during that BLM protest. He should have stayed his ass in the White House, but he had to show, strength. But he ended up tear gassing peaceful protesters. These were the people that was rioting at the time. The third thing that I disagree with is the fact of the matter is that when he was asked in several public stances, what's your opinion? Do you believe that black people are being oppressed in this country? He just looked at the reporter and ignored it. Now, the only thing that I can reason with him doing that is because if he had said yes, then being that the fake news have already, deemed him as this, they'd start hitting him with those gotcha questions. You see what I'm saying? So He couldn't have answered that the right way or the wrong way. And if you remember, when he was answering these people saying that he disagrees with all of the Ku Klux Klan hatred and this, that, and the third. Notice he didn't stick around to answer any questions after he said that because he knew what the media was going to do to him. They was getting ready to crucify him. So he just got up and left. And it was like, well, Donald Trump, we got questions. Mr. President, we have questions. And he walked away. I probably would have done the same thing. I've walked away from situations online because I knew that if I had responded, it would have been those gotcha questions. There's people who say, hey, I want to debate you. So I'll ask them, what are we going to debate about? Oh, we're going to debate about a whole lot of things. Well, wait a minute. Do you want to debate me or do you want to have an argument with me? So when you say you don't have a topic of debate, I'm walking away. You damn right. They'd be like, well, Ricky Manning ran. No, I'm not running. I know that I'm not going to set myself up for an ambush because let's just say, for instance, you and I are rival broadcasters, right? I'm going to have my crew, even if you prove me wrong, that's still going to be like, Ricky, we rock with you. You're going to have your crew, even if I prove you wrong, that's still going to rock with you. You see what I'm saying? So Trump did the right thing by walking away, but I still wish that he had acknowledged it more, and especially at that debate. I think he put his foot in his mouth when he said, Proud Boys, stand down and stand by. What did that mean for the black community? Well, the black community was already under the impression that the Proud Boys were a bunch of racists. So now they're thinking, oh, shit, this is about to turn into a civil discourse here. If
Right. A race war.
Yeah, it's about to turn into a race war. And I'm like, ooh. So I wish Trump had just kept Proud Boys out of his mouth, right? And said something more along the lines of he disapproves of racism. Now, but I think what was going on too as well is he said, because the Proud Boys was pretty much Donald Trump's goon squad at the time. Let's be honest. There was his goon squad. Now, did you hear what Donald Trump asked Joe Biden when it was all said and done? He says, Proud Boys, stand down and stand by. Now, he was asking Joe Biden, what about Antifa? Like, are you going to tell Antifa to cool their jets? Joe Biden was like, see, there you go. He won't admit it, blah, blah, blah. No, are you going to ask Antifa to cool their jets now? I done told my goon squad to fall back. Tell yours.
I think it's, being a military man, anytime you tell a group that can essentially weaponize themselves to stand down and stand by, and then after that you have January 6th, it don't look good, man. It don't look good. But, Trump spoke to those guys before they went to the Capitol.
Lisa D said something.
So
yes, he asked them to stand down and stand by.
Say what now?
Lisa D says he asked them to do the same with Antifa, and Biden said Antifa was just an idea.
Nah, that's a real group. But I think they try to put him up on charges of inciting a race riot, not a race riot, to incite civil unrest or some terminology they use. And again, a lot of things that Donald Trump did was very, very unpopular, and it's the way he did it, because Donald Trump was never presidential.
No,
he was a businessman who became president and spoke the same way he did.
The way I would describe Donald Trump, man. And I mean, I love Trump. Then this is what the way I'm about to describe him is the reason why I love him.
Strike that from the record. Go ahead.
All right. If Trailer Trash won the lottery, it would be Donald Trump.
Wait a minute. I don't. What context is that coming from? I'm confused about what you just said.
If Kid Rock won the lottery, if Kid Rock was never a rapper, right? He always wanted to rap, but one day he scratched the winning lottery ticket. That's Donald Trump.
Okay.
Loudmouth, fucking say what's on his mind. Don't give a fuck who's around. It's my way or the highway kind of deal. Just a straight up damn, the dude that you can expect to turn over the apple cart.
Absolutely. And see, this is why, I mean, for Black people in general, this is why I believe we really shouldn't choose a side. We should go with the group that gives us what we want. When we look at the legislation that Joe Biden has passed for other groups except for us. I mean, when I was interviewing Marcel, we talked about how Clyburn gave the Catawba Indian tribe reparations, and how Joe Biden signed legislation to give the 500 recognized federal tribes $31 billion on top of the $2 billion that he allot for them out of the federal budget each year. So essentially, all of this money, and Marcel said this statement. I got to go back and research what he said, because it's the way he explained it, that basically America has the money because we print our own money, and it just circles around within the country. And because we control monetary systems, that the dollar won't be devalued because we printing more money. And I'm like, well, how does that interact and correlate with the system of fiat, which is a system of debt, IOU? I'm just like, he said something very powerful, and I'm like, man, I gotta research it because I gotta explain that.
Yeah, he said the same thing on my show, and I'm like, that's why I referred him to you.
Okay.
Because you would understand the verbiage of that more than I would.
Right. When he said it, I understood it, but now I'm like, what did he say? He said something very powerful, because we understand in America, Ricky. So back in, I want to say 1971, Richard Nixon took us from our money being backed by gold to our money being a fiat system, where it's a system based upon debt, IOU.
Yeah.
And this is why essentially we never really see money unless you go to the ATM and print it out. Everything is electronic. Everything is in a check form, right? You get a check, you deposit in your bank account. And back in the day, they used to have money, right? But since we control our own currency, I mean, a dollar is always going to be a dollar in America, right? And then we go over these other countries, because we're the most powerful country military-wise in the world. Our money's going to be worth more than them. Like, we control damn near, of course, with the UK, Great Britain, control the currencies of the world outside of the Middle East, because their money is worth a lot because they sitting on tons of oil. But other than that, I mean, this monetary system that we're in is no longer backed by gold. It's backed by fiat.
Now, you said something, and I want to make sure I capture this before I lose my train of thought.
Okay.
You said that we as a people should not pick a side until one side says that what they're going to do for us and give us a plan, right?
Well, no. They shouldn't give us a plan. We give them the plan. But what I'm saying is, it's kind of like this. I'm not going to take away from your point. I'm going to make one statement. If I'm voting for you, you don't tell me what you're going to do for me. I'm going to tell you what I want you to do for me in order to get my vote.
Okay. Now, with that being said, we need to be more vocal as a group of people and be more diverse and be more open, and to be able to override these black pastors in the black community that just shove these Democrats in our face. All right.
Absolutely.
Because what I would do when Trump runs in 2024, what I'm going to do is tell him and his campaign party, this preacher is pushing this bullshit at his church, right? Yep. Okay. Where we might not be able to go in that church, we could go into the parking lot.
True. But I can tell you this.
And if you have to debate Jim Crow Joe or whoever is on that campaign all the way through their campaign trail, then goddamn it, you got to do what you got to do.
I can give you one sure way that I believe that Donald Trump will win in 2024. One sure way. As I told you before, if he said that he's given Black Americans, those descendants of American slaves in the killing fields of the South, if he gives us what is owed from this American government, reparations, he will be president. If he doesn't do that, I don't know what may occur. I really don't. I mean, a lot of people are going to look back, especially a lot of Black businessmen and women may look how their business was operating under Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. You may get 50% of those votes. But again, it really, or this may happen again, where who was running? Who ran against who ran against Donald Trump?
Biden, Buttigieg,
No. First term when Donald Trump
Hillary.
won.
Hillary.
Hillary. Right. Where Black Americans didn't show out to vote. He'll win it again if we don't show out to vote again. And that's why the Democrats understand that the black vote is so damn important. Because Hillary, she was just up there shucking and jiving, thinking because her relationship with Obama was going to get her the presidency, and that shit didn't turn out. Because again, Democrats is like, hey, if we don't have the black vote, we're not going to win. Thus, illegal immigration, as you stated before, and I do concur. I do agree. So this is essentially a lot of people, especially in the black media. This is kind of the last chance that Black Americans have to put a president in office because they are muddying the waters with immigration, right?
Yes, they are.
When they bring these, when the Democrats bring these people over here, they indoctrinate them into the Democratic class. And I'm talking about whether they be from the Caribbean, India, Africa. All of these people are signing up Democrat. And this is the sole purpose of them having these large immigration policies and these funds that fund immigrants over the own citizens of the people that live here in order to keep them in power.
Now,
if that's not demonic, I don't know what is.
I got a countermeasure there because I spoke with some people that are actually in Mexico right now, and there's a first generation Mexican immigrant here in Charleston. She owns a nightclub, right? And I sat down and I talked with her, and she says, Ricky, I've been reading, before I got kicked off of Twitter, she was like, I've been reading a lot of your rhetoric on Twitter. She says, now I want to sit down and talk to you. I was like, oh shit, she getting ready to hit me up. Like, we get ready to argue. She says, I'm a business owner. A lot of people come from my country to come to America to be business owners. And I said, okay. She says, so that means entrepreneurship. We can't operate as successful entrepreneurs in America under Democratic rule. She says, I want you to point to Virginia. Okay. The Hispanics in Virginia is who turned that election out so that Virginia has a Republican, a Republican governor now. I was like, huh? She says they're playing backfired on them because we came to America for opportunity. We can't get those same opportunities under Democratic rule. And I was like, holy shit, it backfired on them. It backfired. They thought they was going to get them here and get them to vote Democrat. She just started her nightclub and she was like, no, listen. She says, we're just as capitalistic as you are. And this woman is beautiful, by the way. I mean, everything she wears, like from head to toe, is just fucking name brand jewelry. It just looks good on her. You know what I'm saying? And she was just like,
I understand why, when Democrats increase and broaden these immigration policies, if I was in one of these countries where the infrastructure is horribly bad, the governments are more corrupt than our government, you're struggling to make ends meet each day to feed yourself and your family, and this America, the dream of America, all the great things you hear about America, and they're bringing immigrants over in droves. I understand the loyalty in voting for the political party that broaden the spectrum for you to gain citizenship or work visas and school visas, etc. I understand the loyalty there because I probably would too. I'm voting for Democrat, and they don't even know what's going on in our political parties. And I got that though, right? You're going to essentially support the person who helped you out, but it doesn't help the natural born citizens here, especially Black people.
Right.
And when I say Black people, okay, I just want to
American born Black people.
When I'm talking about Black people, I'm talking about U.S. freedmen. I'm talking about foundational Black Americans, descendant of American slaves. When I say Black people, I don't just mean the worldwide African diaspora of Black people, because then I would, essentially make that distinction.
Okay. Well, shoot, man.
Yeah.
I got to get
Ricky,
to the
man, I appreciate your time, man. Great discussion as always. Again, you're my brother, man. I love some of the things that you have said here tonight. Again, and I love that we don't agree on everything because this is no echo chamber. We point out
we can't agree on everything and be right with each other, man.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, man, stay in the back channel for a little bit. I'll talk to you. But thank you everybody for joining. This was a great discussion here with Ricky Manor. Please go support that brother's channel at Ricky Manor. You guys have a great and wonderful night, and we're out.
Peace.